Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg, episode 169, because I just don't stop. Some people go to church on Sundays. I talk about nonsense. Okay, that's it. That's yeah. Anyways, we're playing Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the Wii U today. Because, well, you know, Monster Hunter World is coming out, and that's pretty hype. It's pretty exciting. And whoop, that was not what I wanted to eat. There is actually another beta weekend this coming weekend. Next weekend is another beta. It's a Christmas miracle. No one knew that they were going to do another beta weekend, but here it is, and so it's very exciting. I'm very excited for it. So excited, in fact, that I ordered a PS4 Pro just for the beta. Well, actually, I was going to get one in January for the actual release of the game, but I figured with another beta on the way, why not? And I don't need a PS4 Pro. It's probably a little, like, overrated. But it lets me sell off my PS4 for cheap to Mert, so that he can get on the Monster Hunter train with all of us, so that's pretty exciting. Really, it's like a gift to Mert is what I'm doing. But, you know, I get a PS4 Pro out of it. It can't be that bad. So very excited for Monster Hunter World. Very hyped. And I figured there was one thing that I didn't do in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Like, I can't consider me having, like, beaten the game. Because the one thing I didn't do is kill Latreon. Bullshit. If you followed the Mangg Hunter series, you probably recall Latreon as being the one boss I didn't finish. Giant sort of dragon thing in the volcanic area. Not for lack of trying. I've attempted him many times. And I've never beaten him. Cut off his tail plenty of times. That's easy, sure. But killing him hasn't happened. And so I'd like to do it. It's definitely a goal. It's not like impossible. Plenty of people have killed Latreon. Why not me? Why not me? And so, yeah, I made a couple attempts last night. Once with the longsword, once with the lance. Neither went to, I got carded 3 times, both times. I mean, you never really are sure how well you're doing. You just either do it or you don't do it, and that's it. So maybe I was doing well with the second time with the lance, but who's to say? And so the reason I'm fighting Sandberry is because they recommend using an ice weapon against Latreon rather than slime. Slime is all around good, but using the proper elemental weapon against the boss is the best thing you can do, which makes sense. Unless it's like the Kelby bow or whatever. And so... so I'm trying to get the best Ice Lance in the game, and so I have to kill some Barioths to get it. And then I'll give it another go. I mean, I have like a month or so until Monster Hunter World comes out. So maybe it's possible. Depends how dedicated I am, I guess. I am rusty, though. I didn't spend that much time with the Lance in the beta. I was switching through all sorts of weapons, mostly the light bow gun. And so I haven't had much time with the Lance in a while. Fuck off. Probably gonna die. Anyways, I should probably talk about other stuff rather than just being a Mangg Hunter video. So this week has been fairly basic on this channel. I know if you're not interested in the Final Fantasy stuff, there's not a lot going on. It's mostly because... Well, here's the thing. I do almost all video type stuff at night. That's where I do just a lot of stuff. Because I'm a night person, that's where I feel, you know, the most coherent and cognizant or whatever. So it all happens at night. Most of the time. And so, since I'm recording all these extra videos and doing all these extra stuff for Exploring series, you know, writing all these scripts, things like that, that all happens at night. And so, really, shockingly to say, the reason there hasn't been many videos is because I've been busy. Priority goes to the Exploring series, I'm afraid. And so I'm very glad I have all these Final Fantasy videos to just be like, yeah, okay. I don't have to stress about, you know, working on 2 different things every night, and I can just have Final Fantasy videos keep pumping out. But, yeah, so that's what's going on. We did get a Styx video in there. I did get a dungeon run video in there. And of course, roll manging, but for the most part, yeah, I work on some sort of Exploring series video every single night of the week, which is not a schedule that I want to keep up. I don't like it, mostly because I just tend to make more mistakes in my videos. Almost every video that I've been putting out has had some sort of mistake in it, and that's just no bueno. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to keep up for another month and a half, give or take. We're not even halfway, we're not even at the halfway point, but it is what it is. Work's got to get done before play. That's what people say. I'm so pissed. Just pissed all the time. He's just not himself when he's hungry. great camera angle. Fucking tornado. Anyways, so that's what's happening. I'm not going to make any promises right now about video series, let's plays, things like that. Fortunately, there's not like any crazy exciting games out or coming out. I know there's the new sort of To the Moon sequel thing that just came out. I don't remember what it's called. I don't even know if I want to let's play that because I don't need to cry on camera again. But yeah. So yeah, on the Exploring series this week, we had the Dragons video, the Hersine video, and the Malakath video. And the Malakath video, I fucked up big time. Not only did I use an image of Mehrunes Dagon in the video, I also set it as the thumbnail because it was such a great picture. And for videos, like, I always post it before I go to right before I go to bed, so I can just wake up to having comments rather than having them trickle in slowly and me just reading them one by one. That's just, and because I tend to sleep late, and so let the early morning people watch Exploring series with their breakfast or whatever. Anyway, so I woke up and I get all these, or just the first thing I read is like, that's a picture of Mehrunes Dagon. I'm like, what the fuck? So that was nice. Re-upload. So yeah, that's no good. But I get to reuse that picture this week for the Mehrunes Dagon video. So I worked on the Morag Tong and the Dark Brotherhood video this week. I lumped them together. Other YouTubers, I'm sure, would have separated the two, but you know me, I like to consolidate. Not much to say about the Morag Tong. That would have been a short standalone video. They were in like one game, and that's kind of it. Not much else to say. Dark Brotherhood is a lot more popular within the series. Yeah, so in this week, I don't even know what I'm working on. Maybe the 9 Divines or something? I don't know. Something. And then Mehrunes Dagon and Meridia or whatever, or something like that. I don't know. I work on stuff and stuff. Oh, wait, no, I'm not doing 9 Divines. I changed my plans. I decided that working on 4 videos this week was just too much. That was just a step too much. So I decided to change my plans, and I'm skipping the main Elder Scrolls video this week, and instead I'm focusing solely on, well, not solely, but, you know. I'm focusing on the Cthulhu Mythos and Bloodborne video. So I'm still going to do a couple Daedric Princes, but instead of working on a 3rd Elder Scrolls video throughout the week, I'm going to work on the Cthulhu Mythos and Bloodborne video, because that has quite a lot to it. There's a lot of work to it, and so far I've just been working on it on like Saturdays, but I need to just devote a week to it to get it done for Christmas. So it'll be a nice Christmas gift. And I'll be able to use my new PS4 Pro to record footage for it. If that means anything. I don't think it looks any different, but sure. Piss off, Barioth. Yeah. So that's what's happening. Cthulhu Mythos and Bloodborne. Which is that's a fun video to work on. A lot of work, a lot of writing, a lot of thought. But, that'll be interesting. Bullshit. Oh, that's a shame. Why am I still blocking? I know exactly what's gonna happen here. Just so paranoid. Anyways. I guess that's that. That's a bummer for you. So, okay, board games for this week. There was a little Arkham Horror LCG, of course. Hopefully we're going to start playing two-player Gloomhaven at some point soon, probably this week. We'll see how that goes. And Monday we played Concept, because all we did for our role-making was just shit. It was just character generation, which I'll talk about. And so that didn't fill up the whole time frame, so we filled it with Concept. Which, of course, is a party game, but it's a good four-player party game. Very light, a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs while we were playing. Because it's one of those games where it's funnier if people are bad at it. If people just have no idea how to communicate their thoughts in Concept, can be very entertaining. And so listening to Phil try to describe this vehicle that ends up being, he picked Ghost Train, which, yeah, he was like putting cubes all over the place for like this super fast metal vehicle that's driven at night by evil people. And it's just, we thought it was, and he was like, it was a fantasy thing, so we thought it was from like comic books. And so it's like this, the Joker and his pals are just gearing up in this super fast vehicle at night and just driving around town killing people. It was wild. He had no idea how to convey the concept of a ghost. There was a lot of laughs, just fun stuff. But the main event this week for board games was yesterday. I gotta use a freaking whetstone. We played Forbidden Stars, which is a dudes on a map game. You know, like Risk. Risk is a dudes on a map game. You have units, you have forces, you're trying to kill other people and all their forces and take over their territory, so on and so forth. Gotcha, bitch. but it's set in space, and what's more interesting, we all really appreciated the theme. The theme was great for this game. It's set in the Warhammer 40k universe. And I know a little bit about it. I know some tidbits, some fun trivia for Warhammer 40k. The other guys, they didn't know like anything about it, and so I was filling them in on some of the interesting trivia with the, you know, the orcs and the warp and the chaos gods and stuff. And so they're becoming more acquainted with Warhammer now because they've played Chaos in the Old World, they've played the Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing, and this was really their first introduction to 40k. There are Warhammer 40k RPGs, but they just seem so crunchy, and I don't know. If there was a Powered by the Apocalypse game of Warhammer 40k, I might run it. I mean, I don't know enough about the setting to really be confident, but it's definitely an interesting setting. And so, Forbidden Stars goes up to 4 people. It's really, it's kind of more like Kemet than anything, I guess. Like, it's not like Twilight Imperium. You're not dealing with politics. You're not trading. You know, there's really no extensive tech trees or anything like that. You are fighting each other. You're building up your units for the specific purpose of conquering planets and fighting other players. That's it. There's no negotiations or any. It's combat. It's combat, which is fine. You know, if you don't expect a game. Why can I not get any of these fucking tusks? Why are you doing this to me? Rocktor. Isn't that one of the little dudes? Yeah, that's one of the little dudes. I thought about getting the ice longsword instead, because I like longsword, or I could go ice dual blades. I just need a cryo sack. I don't think I'm very good with with dual blades, but I guess it's worth a try. What was I talking about? Oh, Forbidden Stars, right. And so basically, you get currency, you get material, whatever, to build units and stuff like that at the end of every round based on how many planets you control. And pretty much ground units go on planets, ships go in empty space. And so the map consists of a bunch of square tiles, and each tile is divided into 4 quadrants, and each quadrant either contains 1 planet or empty space. That's it. And so it's very kind of tactical with movement, because ground units either have to go through adjacent planets in a path, or they have to bounce off ships that are in empty space if they don't have a connecting path. And so you need to maneuver your ships properly to transport your ground units, because ground units really are more important, because ships cannot take over planets by themselves. They need ground units. So your ships are really there just to fight other ships and to help get your ground units into position. You can also do orbital bombardment with ships, but it's really kind of a waste of an action somewhat, because you can either send ground forces in to take over a planet, or you can orbital bombardment from an adjacent ship. And so you want to take over planets, so you need to get the ground forces in. So orbital bombardment is there if you just don't have ground units in position, but most of the time your goal is to get ground units to take over planets, because the goal of the game is to get 4 objective markers of your symbol, and your objective markers are spread across the galaxy. And so you have to basically travel across the map successfully and take over the planet that has your objective marker and hold it for a round in order to pick it up. So we played... Our game took 6 hours. About 6 hours, give or take, including the teaching time. And Ziggy actually left before the game ended. Because it took a long time. And so in that 6 hours, no one got 4 objective markers. We all got 3. We got up to 3 by the 8th round, which is when the game ends either way. And so, yeah, it takes a long time. Very lengthy game. It was fun. We enjoyed it. Probably if we played it again, the game would be much shorter. We spent a lot of time just like debating about rules and discussions like that, and looking up rules and things, and so that could have been improved. We enjoyed it. You know, if it would take a similar amount of time next time, I'd rather just play Twilight Imperium, because I enjoy the politics and the trading and things like that rather than combat. So, you know, when the game is about combat, I'll do it. That's what it is. But I prefer, you know, for that investment of time, I'd rather have the politics and negotiations and social aspects and things like that. But it was good. It was very prone to fuck-ups. So there was multiple big fuck-ups. Like the biggest player fuck-ups that I've ever seen in a board game. One of them was like... One of them was just completely egregious. Like, this is not acceptable. We actually just, like... What happened was... To build your biggest units, you have to spend tokens. These special tokens that you get from certain planets. Forge tokens. You have to spend them in order to build the big units. And so... Phil apparently didn't realize that. And so he built 2 of his biggest ships without spending these special tokens, and no one caught him on it for like a couple rounds. And so that's a huge advantage, by the way. It's just tremendous. And so Thomas, his like whole plan of attack, like, got completely screwed because of these 2 gigantic ships that were there. He probably would have ended up winning the game without it, if that didn't happen. But finally, you know, he was the one who caught it. He's like, wait, how did you get these ships? Did you spend these tokens? He's like, no, what? Oh, no. And so I just immediately removed both of his big ships from the board. I'm like, nope. And so then we had sort of this discussion about, okay, how much do we reset time here to rectify this situation? We brought back Thomas's units that were killed, and that turn he was about to execute this sort of strategic strike against Ziggy that would have, you know, significantly altered the game. So Ziggy, of course, was against the change in allowing him to follow through those actions, and so everyone had their own biased opinion, and so we sort of compromised where, you know, Phil just got completely screwed because he lost, like, the big amounts of money that he had spent on building those ships, but he deserves it. Thomas got his units back, but he kind of lost his turn, and Ziggy just... Well, Ziggy, I guess, got what he wanted. And I was completely new. It didn't affect me at all, so I tried to be neutral there, and I think it worked out, but, you know, Thomas... That pretty much changed him from probably going to win to he didn't win. Phil actually won. I wouldn't say because he built those ships, because he did get screwed. He did lose those ships, and he did make another fuck up where he, like, completely lost production for a whole turn, and then Thomas fucked up multiple times. The interesting thing about how that game is played is every round each player places 4 order tokens down, and these are like, you place them on a tile, in the middle of a tile, and these determine, like, what action you're going to take in that tile. Whether it be building units or structures or moving into that tile or buying upgrades or collecting certain assets like those special building tokens in that tile. Stuff like that. And that's fairly standard, but you place these... If multiple people are doing stuff in the same tile, you place them on top of each other, face down. You place these icons, these little tokens face down, on top of each other in a stack for each tile. And so, and then the next, once everyone's placed, you go around and you basically resolve actions from the top down. So say you're planning to move into an area with your ground units, take over an enemy factory, and then build from that factory that turn. You would actually place the build token first, followed by the move token, because the move token is going to get resolved first, which is already a little confusing to even think about. Now, you combine that with, like, another player placing their tokens in there, or 2 other people placing their tokens in there, and so you're trying to think about, okay, what does this stack look like? You know, what are these other people planning to do with these tokens? And in what order do I need to do things in order to best win? And so it's very likely, if other people are involved, that you're going to get fucked over. And, like, you might have, like, these build tokens placed down because you're planning to build a bunch of stuff, but somebody else comes in and they place a move token on top of your build. And so their move token gets resolved first because it's on top. And so they might move in and take over your factory, and now your build thing is worthless because you can't build there. So it gets really just mind-fucky later on when you're just trying to deal with, like, because you have all these units across all these tiles, and you have, you know, all these potential actions you can do, but you have to think about what everyone else is planning to do and the order in which they're going to do it. And just, it gets very fucky, but that's part of the appeal. And so Thomas ended up, like, the 7th round out of 8. So this is like crunch time. This is where real shit happens. He completely fucked up his entire turn, his entire round of 4 actions, because he confused, like, 2 separate order tokens. He didn't know what they were. I don't know how he confused these. He has a reference sheet. I don't know what happened, but he confused, like, 2 separate ones. And so his entire turn got wasted. He didn't do a single action that turn. because when you flip over a token, you can either resolve the action, or you can put it on top of your event deck. So you get to do an event at the end of the round, which is fine, but you'd rather do actions, because that's how you get, you know, planets, that's how you get objectives. And so he ended that round with 4 tokens on top of his event deck, because he didn't do a single one. And so that's just like, alright, you lose the game. It ended up being pretty close. All 3 of us ended with 3 objectives. We went to the tiebreaker, which was whoever controls the most planets. So Phil ended up winning because he had spent so much of the game just like taking over a planet, building a structure there so that he controlled it, and then no one ever took it over. It was a fun game. Like I said, we enjoyed it. There was definitely, it's a very thinky game. It's not something you're going to play every week. But it was a good time, even if Ziggy left. All right. So, roll Mangg, which was character generation for Shadow of the Demon Lord. So, you know, this is for Ziggy's campaign, which starts in January. Presumably the first week of January. And Thomas is planning to do... He was planning to do a one-shot for Dungeon World for his first time DMing tomorrow. So we had kind of an off week because my one-shot only took one session. And so we decided to just do character generation. We did the sort of extended character creation. You know, either way, it involves sort of rolling on random tables to randomly generate your character. But there are some alternate PDFs, some alternate tables and more tables for character generation, and so I decided we should use that to make, you know, more complete, interesting characters for an actual campaign. You wouldn't do that for a one-shot because there's too many it takes too long. But for a campaign character that you really want to care about, I thought it was a good idea. Turned out to be a pretty good idea. There we go, finally. And so, I think Phil and I both decided to do random race with a D8 to decide random race. Oh, now I get the heavy amber tusk, but no heavy ivory tusk or whatever. And so we both rolled D8 to decide our race, and we both ended up with human. Which is funny. I mean, part of me wanted goblin, because, I've been playing Styx and stuff like that. I'd like to make an interesting, real, serious goblin character, but human's always fine. I have no problem with human. And then Thomas decided not to roll. He picked orc. He wanted to play an orc. I mean, I know it's a default race in Shadow of the Demon Lord. I just don't know if it's really a great choice. The problem is orcs are not well liked in the setting. They are really, like most setting, orcs are not well liked. And so if you play the orc as like this, you know, the special snowflake of an orc that really wants to be like a great hero, a paladin or something like that, that wants to change the world's mind about orcs and really be a bastion, a paragon of orcs, that's fine, that's great. But I know he's not going to play it like that, because he already, like, it's just, you know, it's sort of stacked against you with the random tables. You're going to end up being just sort of a traditional darker orc, which is sort of what he is. He's a former slave of the Empire. He was like a sergeant that was promoted, and so he was mostly a military slave, but he managed to, well, you know, they had their whole rebellion. They were freed. They freed themselves, I guess. And so when he left the military, he, like, ripped the skin off of his owner and had it tanned or something. He carries it around. Or he made, like, a pouch out of it, or a wallet, or I don't know. And he had, like, a brush with a witch, or not a witch, but, like, a dark magic user. And so he knows, like, he knows, like, a curse spell. So he knows how to curse people. And it's like, I don't know about this. This is going to be terrible. I have no idea how to use dual blades. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh, I don't even want to be here. Phil's character, that was pretty funny. He's like he was the most boring character possible. He was literally, he rolled up an NPC. Like, just the most generic human average character of all time, whose family worked their lives as guards, like town guards or whatever, something like that. And so then he had to roll like 3 times on the life experience table to determine, you know, like, throughout your life, what have you experienced, what have you been doing with your life up to this point. So all 3 times he got, you've worked for a living. And so his entire life, he's worked as a guard. That's it. His family was guards. His ancestors were guards. He has spent his entire life as a guard. He was the most generic, just NPC character I've ever imagined. But then we had to roll randomly for his wealth to see how wealthy he was, and he got like a +1 bonus each time he did the work for a living. So he went in with a +3 bonus to this wealth roll, and he ended up getting rich. He got the rich, the highest one. So he's a rich former guard, because as a rich man, he's basically like a noble. He has his own servant. He has his own guard. He's got, like, these nice 3 horses that he starts with, and he's got, like, fine clothing and stuff. So, and it's just so funny. Okay, you know, he's worked his entire life as just a regular guard. I think probably you might be able to switch it to, like, a bodyguard, but he would have to be pretty... He'd probably be more experienced. He's level 0. He has nothing. He was literally just a shit guard. And so it was really just hilarious to us, is how did he end up rich with his own guard? And so much later on, I actually ended the stream way too early. I ended it right after we rolled up all our characters and did all that, and I thought we were done. We actually ended up talking about our characters for another hour. I ended it way too early. I apologize. I didn't even think about it. And so, much later on, we were looking at the things in the book, and we found that humans either get to choose another language to speak at the start, or they get to roll another random profession. And so he decided to roll another profession randomly that he, like, moonlighted as, and he got poacher. So, for whatever reason, he was a guard who moonlighted as a poacher. And so he decided that, yeah, that's how he got rich, was like, oh yeah, I'll guard this stuff for you, no problem. And then he would just, you know, poach it. So now it made all sorts of sense. It was great. And so we, my character, you know, the other week or whatever, I was talking about random character creation and what a big fan of it I was. And it was like, you know, you get to make characters that, you know, you would never think of otherwise. You would never think to make such random, odd characters, but they end up working. You end up really enjoying them. Whereas, you know, normally you'd stick with the same common tropes and blah, blah, blah. And with random character creation, you get to try all sorts of stuff. And I really like that. You know, I like playing as Artemis or whatever, but the idea of random character, something new, really excites me. So it's very ironic that I literally ended up with Artemis. No joke. It was not. It was completely random. But that's the character I ended up with. He is a human male, and he rolled randomly. I rolled randomly for his age. It was 13 to 17. He's a child. He was like a young adult, or not even a young adult, whatever, a teenager. And he was an educated child. He got an education. And for his, like, childhood event, or his one life experience. Yeah, he got one childhood role, which was the education, and then one life experience role, because he hasn't experienced much. So his one life experience role that I got was he solved a, like, conspiracy or crime in his community at some point. So basically, he's just like a junior detective or something. Like, and I was like, oh my god, I'm rolling Artemis. But oh, and he's sort of like, he's a quiet character. He's sort of serious character. There were some other traits that were very Artemis-like. But there was some twists, which was interesting. I wanted some twists, and there definitely is. And I didn't even name him Artemis. I went with Orion, which I usually do when it's a little different. So the twists are, for one, he is not wealthy. He's not a rich character. His mother died. His mother died of disease. And so he's actually I rolled randomly for my family's profession, and I got boatman. So basically my family, like, made their money on the rivers between these small villages, trading and things like that. And so I've sort of lived my young life partly on the rivers, and so I get to start with my own boat. And so my father was a boatman, and he taught me what I knew and things like that. And so, yeah, my mother died, whereas usually my father is, like, missing. That's usually the trope I go with. But this time my mother's dead, and all I have is my father, and we are boatmen, so that's interesting. The really major thing that was really interesting, though, is I rolled randomly to decide my religion. And I got Witchcraft. I'm a witch. And at first I was like, what the f... I'm a witch? What? What? Oh, I forgot the mega demon drugs. Shit. This is not a serious attempt. Oh my god, what am I doing? See, this is why I die. I'm not very good. I'm not very good. Also, you know, I'm talking about shit. I guess I did kill Dire Morales with dual blades, so that's good. Great start. Just absolutely fantastic. Fantastic start. So witches in this setting. There's a separate PDF that really goes into more detail that I read all the way through about witchcraft. witches in this setting are really like the best, like it's like the most helpful religion. Their entire culture and religion as witches is focused on helping people. Like, even like members of the new faith who just hunt down witches as like vile creatures and just want them all dead, they will even help them. They'll help anybody just because that's what their religion is focused on, is helping people. And I was really happy with that because I did not want to play an evil character. And so there's like the cult of the new faith. There's the old gods or the old faith. There's witchcraft. There's the dark gods. And you can also be atheist. But it's, you know, it sure seems like the gods exist. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah, thanks, Cha-Cha. And so the witchcraft like started off as an offshoot of the old faith, who worship like the old faith is like all the like the god of winter and the god of death and the god of the forest and, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. Whereas the new faith is just a monotheistic religion. And so witchcraft was like, yeah, you're doing all right with your whole god system there and things like that, but we're gonna go a different direction. Oh my god, this is the worst I've ever done. It's probably because I'm talking. I'm really. I just want to get this out. So apparently witches worship like two beings known as the Lord and Lady or something like that, but they didn't even like provide any info about this, so I guess you're just supposed to fill it in on your own. But it really does not seem, it's not like an anti-religion, but it's like, yeah, there's deities, but the whole witchcraft section of the PDF was just like, yeah, they care about helping people. And they do whatever they can to help people, and they're very secretive about their magic and how their little rituals, and they don't have any temples, so they have all their, like, they do all their things at night around bonfires, and so they just have a really bad reputation, and they're very secretive, and so nobody likes them, but, they're hunted down by, like, witch hunters and inquisitions and things like that, but for the communities that they help out, like, they're big fans. Because witches, like, try to stave off disease, and they're doctors, and they, like, can help, like, bring the rain if there's a drought, and all sorts of stuff like that. So witches are really good. And so I was really pleased to read that. When I first heard witchcraft, I was like, oh my god. But basically, I'm just like a sort of naturalist, not naturalist, but sort of a secretive, non-formal healer slash... For my magic, I'm going to try to go with, like, life magic, which is all about healing and stuff, and earth magic. Because I figured, oh, okay, that works. I really wanted to be like a supporter, healer type person, rather than just go, I use fire magic, I cast fireballs and blow up worlds and shit. I really wanted to go with technomancy, because you get the flamethrowers and the construct and things like that, but I decided that just does not make any sense for this character, so... Alright, well that was quick. I'll give it another shot when I'm not talking. But, yeah, that's how you completely fuck up against Elatrion. So, we decided that before my mother died, she said, you know, to Orion, you know, I want more for you. You are destined for more in this life than just to be a boatman, like your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather. So I want you to get an education. And so the most educated man in our village, Creekhole. I think we went with Creekhole to just be like this sort of shitty village. But all of these shitty villages, or a lot of them, have a single witch that sort of watches over them and sort of protects the community and educates them and things like that. And witch does not mean just females. That's the common thought, but I think even back in the day they hung some men for being witches. Yeah. Anyways. And so the sort of wise man or whatever, the mayor, or whatever what do you want to think of our village was an old gentleman by the name of gosh. I'm just gonna look up. I said it in chat. Yeah, Nestor Comstock, Father Nestor, old man Nestor Comstock, whatever you want to call him. And so yeah, he's basically like the mayor of our little village. Although, you know, we don't use that title. And so she said, you know, go to him. Get an education, you know, try to become more than a boatman. And so that's how I got my education, was through this guy. And so he is a witch. And so witches do not really tell almost anyone that they are witches. Like, it's really secretive. They don't tell anyone their information, like their secrets or anything like that. They have like a special symbol that only witches know, that they show to each other to show, like, I'm a witch, look at this. But they really try to keep it secret. And so, like, no one in our village, I guess, really knows that he's a witch. But during my education with him, he sensed something in Orion, you know, whatever it might be. And so he brought me into the witchcraft fold. And so that's how I became sort of an apprentice witch. I'm only level 0, so I'm really shit. I don't know any spells or anything like that. But, so, what we decided then is, I run my boating industry still. I'm still on that, although obviously Adventure is going to be coming pretty soon. And I took on a partner, because all I have is a rowboat. It's not like powered by wind or anything like that. You have to row it. And so, you know, Orion, Artemis, whatever, teenage boys, education, all that kind of stuff. I usually never invest in strength at all with those types of characters. And so that's true for this one as well. He's not a strong, robust young lad. And so he decided, okay, he'll do the navigation and the negotiation and all that, but he needs to hire a strong man to be the rower. And so that's where Thomas's orc comes in. And so rather than, you know, being like, all right, you know, I'll hire you as a rower, you get, like, you know, this small paycheck or something like that, and just sort of, he just is a freed slave, you know, that would really just be like, it would be an insult. So instead, I made him a 50-50 partner all the way. Like, they are partners in this industry, and he liked that, so that's how it ended up being. So we've been doing this for a little while, not too long. He worships the dark gods, and he's like a fanatic. That's what he rolled. He was like a fanatic about his dark god faith, and I'm just like, you know, Orion is like this good guy, apprentice witch is just like, oh, that's interesting. You know, tell me more about your faith and blah. You know, like just very non-aggressive and just very like, you know, oh, okay, all right, that's interesting. He's not going to convert to the dark gods or anything like that, but he's not like, you know, your faith is wrong and you're stupid and evil and I'll kill you, such as, you know, Ovum might do. So they're 50-50 partners, and our first adventure is going to start by taking on our wealthiest client yet, which is, of course, Phil and his entourage. And so the reason that Phil is going out and he's in the boondocks, like this is the boondocks. We are in the middle of nowhere. There's all these just little shit villages. The reason is when he was rolling up his character, he rolled up all his siblings and everything like that. I was an only child, of course, miraculously. It was very easy to get at least one sibling. Somehow I got lucky and got an only child. He rolled up 4 siblings. 3 of them are alive and well and blah, blah, blah. But one of them is alive but disgraced. And so it was like, okay, why is your sister disgraced? Your older sister, why is she disgraced? And so he decided that he disgraced her because of his poaching or something like that. Something he did with the poaching disgraced her. I think what he decided is like she caught on to his poaching activities and she tried to like call him out and like, you know, point out this whole family as being corrupt or something like that. And he used his influence and power at that point to be like, shut the fuck up. You're completely wrong. You're just a liar and get out of our family. And he like turned the tables and just shut shit down on her. And so she went off into the wild on her own. She was like ostracized completely. She was done. And so now he's being like, well, what the hell did I do? He's regretting his actions, and so he wants to go find his sister to sort of bring her back and make amends and things like that. And so he's heard, he's talked around, he's gone around all these shit places, and he's found out, okay, there's this really remote village. I think we decided on Flint Hook. This remote village of Flint Hook, and that's supposedly where his sister is. So he needs to get out there, and the best way is to hire a local boatman. And that's how we have been enlisted we've been hired to take him to Flint Hook, and I'm sure we'll get involved in his schemes because, of course, you know, Orion being a great guy who's trying to help everybody is, of course, going to want to help out. Like I said, that was really a great thing for me, was having a character that's really just helpful and good and stuff like that. As much fun as it is to play evil bags of shit and whatever, to keep this group together, to keep the campaign going, I needed a character that could easily be good. So yeah, we're going to start that in a couple weeks at level 0. I'm really hoping that Ziggy realizes the lethality of the system. I think so after that one shot, and so I'm hoping he leads. The first session is a bit more of a mystery than just a combat fest, so that we can solve the mystery and survive to get to level 1. Since we all care about our characters, I think, since you go through that extensive character creation and we discuss it and all that, it really involves making some interesting characters and you know, coming up with that whole Flint Hook and all that, the whole first session and how we got together and all that was all very organic. We just sat there and talked about it. And the last thing we did, or one of the last things we did, was rolling for the Shadow of the Demon Lord, which is the random effect that the Shadow of the Demon Lord is having on the campaign. One of 20 different effects. If you watch my videos, I talked about that. So we rolled randomly on the D20, and we got Pandemic. So there is this extremely deadly, virulent disease that is slowly going to spread across the continent. And at the start, we will barely know nothing. We may hear like just a few little rumors about this new disease that's spreading or something like that. But by the end, this disease will be fucking everywhere. Like, it will be horrendous. And so it's up to us to solve this, to figure out where is this disease coming from? How do we cure it? You know, how do we save this planet from this pandemic? Which is pretty interesting, pretty exciting, because for Orion, you know, at least for a personal character impetus. You know, his mother died from disease. And so as a natural sort of healer and helper and things like that, he has a very personal interest in curing the world of this deadly disease to prevent what happened to his mother. And maybe his mother was like patient zero, or, you know, who knows what. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Tomorrow, like I said, we have Thomas's first time DMing with a one-shot of Dungeon World. We'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting. No matter what, it will be interesting, but I'm going to try to be as helpful as I can, rather than normal one-shot mode. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah. I'm going to see Star Wars tonight. I've heard some mixed things about it, but only I can judge for myself, so I'll have some thoughts on that next week. Check out the Dark Brotherhood Morag Tong video tomorrow. Mehrunes Dagon and Meridia. I think it's Meridia. It's Mephala. Sorry. Mehrunes Dagon and Mephala this week. Meridia is next week. Yeah, and then more Final Fantasy on the way. But this next weekend, there will probably be some more Monster Hunter World footage on my PS4 Pro. Not that that makes much of a difference, but there you go. Alright, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.